Hey guys, it's Lisa McCurdy, She Raven. Welcome to my channel. This will be my very first podcast. I'm going to focus my channel mainly on mental health, true crime, and horror. I have a complete obsession for true crime and horror movies, so I felt that fittingly, that's what I would focus my channel on. This is my first podcast, like I said. I am super nervous. So I've prepared a script, and hopefully over time I can do it a little bit better without a script. But I mean, you have to start somewhere, right? So I'm originally from Florida, and I'm currently in Texas. But I figured for my very first podcast, I would want to start off with something from Florida, a story from Florida. So I'm going to start off with the Aurthur D. Dozier School for Boys. And like I said, I've got my script here, so hopefully you're listening to this and you're just kind of listening, but so you can just hear the story with my voice. But if not, I'm going to read from my script. I've kind of really meticulously taken notes and done this, so I think it's really fun. And I'm going to have a good time, and over time, I'm sure it'll all get better. So, this is episode 1, the Aurthur D. Dozier School for Boys. The Dozier School for Boys opened its doors January 1st of 1900. It was a 1,400-acre reformatory school in the Florida Panhandle, west of Tallahassee and the town of Marianna. The reformatory school was opened for over 100 years. Basically, it was to reform the troubled youth of Florida in an attempt to teach them how to be respectable members of society. Boys were sent to the school for a variety of offenses. Some were serious offenses like rape or assault. However, the majority were actually minor offenses, like petty offenses that could never justify the horrors they faced once enrolled. What could give you a stay at this school of hell? And it was hell. Skipping school, smoking cigarettes, running away, stealing even a soda. There was a case where two brothers stole a Coke from the back of a Coke truck, and they were sent to this reformatory school. Or sometimes just being an orphan, just having nobody. They kind of shipped you off here. Many boys checked into this horrible place, but they never checked out. The school became a slavery ground where pain, rape, and torture festered. You pulled up to this 1,400-acre school, and you're met with absolutely beautiful grounds. And this is actually from, I'm quoting from one of the kids who went. He said it was gorgeous. There were no fences, lush, well-maintained, manicured lawns, big, beautiful, healthy, mature trees. As a troubled youth, you might think, finally, a place where I can rest my head, attend school, be safe, and learn a trade. Because they did, I don't want to say they taught them a trade here, but it was a trade school, and that's probably where a lot of the slavery will come into. So we'll get to that part in a second. And yeah, like I said, that was actually a description of one of the, at the time, young men who went to the school. And he had actually volunteered to go. He was incorrectly accused of doing something he hadn't done, but he grew up in the poor side of town. He had heard that this school was really pretty, and just the kind of things you hear about places that as you're older you're like, no. That they had extracurricular activities that he would like, things of that nature. So he was before the judge, and he basically said, you know what, send me, I want to go right now. So he wasn't even gonna go. So he thought, you know what, it has to be better than where I am. So that was a lot of his description, being a kid pulling up to this school. And he quickly found out, no, I don't want to be here. But at that time, it was, of course, too late. In the reformatory school, the boys would attend classes and also work on alternating days. That's right. This, in my opinion, kind of causes a conflict because you have where the boys are attending classes, but then you have the industrial part of it. And that, to me, when it becomes for profit, that's where things can sort of get a little bit iffy, in my opinion. The work part of it, since it was for profit, it sort of changed the dynamics because they had a captured workforce. So it was basically, you've committed a crime, you're going to be here, you're going to go to school, but at the same time, you're going to work. This is, I guess, what we have to do to survive. So, of course, they exploited that. I mean, obviously. But up until the 1967, the school was racially segregated. All of the industries and the woodworking went to the white boys. So the white boys did that, and they also stayed in different cabins or barracks, however you might describe it. So the whites were on one side and the blacks were on the other side. So basically, all the good jobs went to the white kids, and all the bad jobs, the jobs that probably nobody wanted to do, that was the black boys that did that. And I'm sure none of them wanted to do any of the jobs, but you kind of understand what I'm saying. So the black boys were actually basically given the slave labor, literally. The blacks were in the fields and with the animals. That was hard work, really hard work. And all of this was for the state's profit. So all of, the profits from this went to the state. Sometimes the boys were even given to local farms to do work for those farms. So, I mean, you're off at reformatory school and you're sort of given to someone, like, here, he'll help you, or they'll help you do some of this work. And I did come across a case where a 6-year-old, and there isn't that much talk about boys that young, but a 6-year-old was given to a family, doesn't say, what kind of family, to be a houseboy, and he was actually returned to the school unconscious and died later. So I can't even imagine what happened to that 6-year-old, the horrors he had to endure. It's horrific. Okay, so I've already given you sort of like a rundown of the school. Here's where the sinister part comes in, or an additional sinister, just like you can't believe how depraved humans can be. So as if that wasn't enough, as if taking these boys for minor offenses, as if forcing them to do work and not pay them, as if that wasn't enough, here goes the bigger problem with the school. The staff, they were basically animals, evil at its purest form. These were children, and through all my accounts, I see as young as 8, but I do know, like, again, we have that example of the 6-year-old, but for the most part, they do talk a little bit higher than 6. So as young as 8, and they were brutally beaten, tortured, and sometimes even sexually abused. Now, of course, something like this would happen in a situation where kids are with kids. Of course, the older kids did prey on the younger kids also, but it was the staff. In addition to kids preying on kids, it was the staff also. And these things happen to them for any and every violation. And it's also, like I said before, when you have that type of captured audience, it's also how you instill fear in them. because you want these kids to remember who's boss. You want them to remember you control them, you control their every move, and you decide what they can and cannot do. So I think that was sort of something that the staff members decided to ingrain in these boys earlier on. Like some talk about even being beaten the first day. Okay, so talking about the being beaten part, now it's time to talk about the White House. Yes, the name is the White House. There was a small building on this beautiful, majestic looking school grounds. It was a small white building, so that's why they called it the White House. The child that committed whatever offense at that time, whatever it was that you had done as a child, would be snatched up. A lot of times it would be at night. Sometimes it would be by the older boys at the instruction of the guards. Hey, go pick up this one, go pick up that one. And you're dragged across that beautiful, majestic lawn. All the trees in the background, well manicured lawn, which I'm probably at this point understanding that it was probably the kids who upkept that. But still, this beautiful scenery out there in Florida. And a lot of times, like I said, they were picked up at night and they still had their state issued pajamas on, the white pajamas. And if it wasn't at night, then they had their state issued white t-shirt and jeans on or something. So you're dragged across the lawn to the small white building, the White House. And this is where you actually stepped into the depths of hell. Seriously. These are children. I mean, I even choke up about reading about this, and to think this happened to kids. If you were lucky, okay, lucky, no matter what, there is no luck, but if you were lucky, you wouldn't be there alone. You'd kind of feel like, sometimes being alone is crushing, but if you were lucky, you wouldn't be there alone. Because being there alone meant the crushing weight of pain and fear enveloped your whole entire soul. But if you weren't alone, that was just the same. Because not being alone meant that you were there and you were going to not only feel this beating when it was your turn, but you felt it mentally also, because a lot of times they would bring a couple of boys into this White House and they would line them up. So depending on where you were in that line, you would hear the other boys screaming, crying. You would hear the whip coming down. I can't even imagine. And you'd basically hear them getting beaten into, within 1 inch of their lives. Literally. So anyways, most of the time, it was more than one boy. Once you stepped foot into the White House, you've entered whole nother dimension of hell. As if being there on the school grounds wasn't enough, as if having to do all this hard free labor wasn't enough, as if walking on eggshells every single day wasn't enough. Now you're in for it. You're at the White House. And there's only one thing that goes on in the White House, and that's beatings. Beatings. The stench is the first thing that attacks your senses. The smell of death, feces, urine, blood, and plain filth. So imagine being a child. You're walking in and boom, you just smell it. You smell the environment. Next, your eyes are visually assaulted because there's blood everywhere. It's all over the walls. Sometimes you might see like a handprint from where someone was beating so bad, then they had blood on them. They touched the wall to stabilize themselves, and then you see their handprint on the walls. There's blood on the walls. There's blood splatter on the walls. It's a crime scene, and it looked like a crime scene. Boys beaten constantly in here, and literally beaten until they bled. That was the purpose of this. So you beat someone so much, and once you lacerate that skin, the blood is squirting. Next, your sense of hearing is shocked awake. The thunder and roar of a loud industrial fan. They walk in, they turn on the lights, and they flick on that fan. Because of course, the guards don't want to, the guards don't want to get too hot as they're in there giving you all these lashes, and they've got, 2, 3, 4 boys. It's hot in there. It's Florida. It's hot. So they've got this massive fan going. The line of boys would be in tears, waiting their turns, and they'd take them one by one. So if you weren't the first boy, you agonizingly wait while listening to the others being beaten, screaming for mercy, screaming for mom, for dad, for whomever, and just crying out in pain. Now, they weren't supposed to be screaming, but hello, of course that's going to happen. And this is what you'd hear. Lay on the bed, grab the rails, and bite the pillow. Those 11 words immediately activated your sense of taste and touch. Lay on the bed. The bed is soaked in old and new regurgitation. So that's old and new throw up. It's soaked. They weren't cleaning the sheets for these kids. It's soaked in throw up. Tears, spit, blood, even pieces of flesh from boys who were beaten so bad they bit off pieces of their lips, their tongues, from blistering skin, because these whips came right into their skin, and they whipped you until you bled. You didn't just get spanked. They whipped you until your skin blistered open, because they wanted to instill that power, that fear inside of you. And this is where now you're being told to lay. Grab the rails. I can't even imagine being a child and grabbing those rails for dear life, steadying their small frame in preparation for your body to be beaten so hard that your blood would spray on the walls. Okay, think about that. Lay on the bed and grab the rails. That's to steady you so you don't go flopping all over the place. Grab the rails. What kind of mind would a person have to say, you know what, I'm going to beat this kid so hard, I need them to grab the rails, and I need all of them to grab the rails so they don't go flying off of this bed. I need them to steady their own body to take and withstand these blows. That's heartbreaking. They would beat them so hard, this young flesh, that their flesh would disconnect from the body that God made for them, that gave them. You're beaten so hard with this whip, this belt, whatever it was, that your skin burst open. And then when their skin would burst open, it'd fly all over the place. Pieces of skin on the wall, pieces of skin on the bed, just there to rot. And that's where coming in, that's where your sense of sight kind of shocks you, because you come into this place, especially if it's the first time, and you're like, where am I? For those boys, their very first time, there's blood everywhere. There's little pieces of rotten skin. There's pieces of rotten skin and flesh on the bed, in the pillow, just everywhere. Because everyone was beaten like this in here. And then the last words, bite that pillow. And that was a way for them to, again, stabilize themselves and hopefully not scream, not make too much noise. Not that anyone would care, because everyone knows if you're at the White House, you're getting the living crap beaten out of you. But now you're biting the pillow. Can you imagine how rank that pillow smelt? The survivors have actually said in interviews that the pillow was soaked with old blood, vomit, and little pieces of flesh. These are children. Children remembering what they had to go through. I mean, now adults, of course, but remembering what they had to go through. Bite that pillow. Lay down, grab the rail, and bite that pillow. And these are kids who were there for, a lot of them were there for just petty crimes. Some didn't even know what the heck they were there for. They had absolutely no idea. Some were there because they had no parents. And this is what they received. This was the, I can't even say love, because that wasn't love at all. Yeah, little crimes. Yes, there were some that were there for larger crimes, and I'm not sure. I mean, because in this world, you don't even deserve this type of treatment for those larger crimes. But like smoking, skipping school, stealing a Coke, these are tiny little things that could get you put there, or just because you're just a naughty little boy. This is what gets you put there, and this is the treatment that you receive once you're there? Oh my goodness. Those words alone send fear through my body. It makes me speechless. It makes me tear up. It makes me cry for humanity, because these were adults that didn't care. They did not care about humanity. You think about even an animal. You accidentally step on your dog's toe, or you step on your dog's tail, and you get kind of jittery, and you say, I'm sorry. But God, you're doing these to kids, to humans. You're treating them this way. And then these kids are alone. This is way back before the roads were created so nicely and everything was easy to get to. So a lot of these children did not see their parents at all. And some of these children did not check out of this place. So they never saw a member of their family again. So there's no one there coming on Saturday for picnic or, any of those kinds of things. And this is how we're treating them. Alone, scared. 8 years old? Even 6. I can't even imagine. So the kids would be beaten lash after lash after lash. Beaten so badly, the clothes they were wearing would embed into their skin. That means the beatings broke the skin, and they kept beating them. So it broke the skin, and they kept beating them until the clothes were shredded, until their skin was basically shredded, and the two would merge. You're beaten so bad until your clothes, your little thin little shirt that they've given you has busted open, but now your skin has opened up from the lacerations, and the cotton is getting stuck inside your skin. And that wasn't enough. They still want to beat you some more. They wanted that to happen. They wanted to beat these children until they bled. They wanted them to feel this pain. And these are the very people that were supposed to protect and reform them. And I say that loosely, because a lot of them, there's no reforming them. They were just kids doing silly little kid things. And this wasn't like a one-time occurrence for the boys. So it wasn't like, you come in and they want to scare you straight and they're going to beat you. Not that that would have been better, but it's not like they just wanted to scare these boys straight. This was constant. It was ongoing. The duration of your stay, any little thing they felt, this is what they did to you. They'd just pull you down to the White House and beat you. And you couldn't escape the beatings because that's the way they kept power and that's the way they kept order. Remember, there's no gate anywhere. There's no one, no guard at the front making sure they stay. They got you up here mentally. They wanted these boys to know and remember who was in charge, and they taught them. They taught them very well. And there really wasn't any escape because even when you came up to this beautiful school, remember, like I said, the roads, we didn't have all the they didn't have all the highway systems at that time. It wasn't easy to get there. I mean, I guess unless you lived in the local town or something like that. But for most of the boys, it wasn't easy for their parents to get there or anything like that. So you had nowhere to go. And if you tried to escape, they would hunt you down. They would absolutely hunt you down. And as doing research for this, I was listening to one of the accounts from one of the survivors, one of the victims, the survivors, and he said, when you're looking at the school, it seemed like it was a forest. And sometimes, the boys, especially if you had just come, would think, that's a forest. I'm just going to run all night. I'm going to run, run, run until I reach a place. But they're out in the middle of nowhere, really. And you could run through this forest, and God forbid it's not, the winter time, because it does get a little chilly in certain parts of Florida. They would lock the jackets up just to try to avoid the children trying to escape. But there was a railroad, and a lot of times once they realized that you'd left, there would be men waiting at that railroad, and if they caught you, oh, they were going to beat you. And he was saying that you weren't going to be taken back to the White House and beaten. They would put you over like a steel drum or something, tie you over this drum, and they were going to beat the crap out of you right then and there. And he could only think to himself, well, how did that work? Because in the White House, we had this bed. Because he said when they got beaten in the bed at the White House, every time that strap would come down, you'd completely sink in that bed. But he's like, on the steel drum, you don't have that leeway. So someone beats you and you're being beaten. You're stuck on that drum. You're being completely beaten. So again, I can't even imagine, because he speculated, and I say speculated because I know there's a lot that's still possibly open with this, but he speculated that those that were beaten that way would probably have not survived. So, yeah. So remember, it was back in the day, so the roads weren't as good and developed as they are now, and this school was basically a cash cow for not just the state, but for that little area, for that town. The majority of the jobs were there. If you yourself didn't work there, more than likely you knew one or more people that actually worked there. So that is also a conflict of interest. A lot of people looking the other way. A lot of people making excuses as to why this is okay, or why they're not going to intervene. And I don't even know what they could have done back in those days, but a lot of people just looking the other way, and a lot of people just unleashing their anger and frustrations out on these young men. There are even a couple stories of them hunting the kids for sport. I mean, it's sick, absolutely sick. They made like a game, a fun sport out of hunting human life. I didn't in my research I didn't find that they killed those kids. I mean, at least there's no story about them killing those kids when they did that, but it was just something that they sometimes did. And just, the thought of having that type of fun just really turns your stomach. It's just like, oh, ew, go hunt a duck or something. But yeah, there was also stories of a rape dungeon at the school. They take boys 12 and younger and basically molest them, rape them. There's supposed to be some sort of tunnels under the school, and that's where like a lot of the heating elements are. And I guess that was the dungeon area. They just had free reign of these children. There's no, like I said, no parents that can really constantly make it out there. And I don't even know if a parent did make it out there, if they would release the child to their parent. It's so complicated. You're supposed to have the ability, any adult was supposed to have the ability to check a child out if they knew that, first of all, and if they could make it there and do that. So I don't even know if the adults even knew that. I did come across a story where a young man, his brother did come. His brother, I guess, got custody of him and was in the armed forces. I don't remember which one. And he did come and he did get him, but he was originally declined. He was originally told, no, you can't take him. But he was very quick to nip that in the butt and figure, kind of let them know, no, he's coming. And he had his sergeant that was able to kind of vouch that, no, you are going to release his brother. And yeah, so that was another story. So I don't even know if they were, I mean, they tried to scam him out of his brother. I mean, you would think all these children, you can let one go? No. Oh, no. No. They weren't going to do that. Those kids are dollar signs, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but I mean, that's what it seems. So the boys in the school endured so much over the 100 plus years that the school was open. Malnutrition, they did not feed them well. Poor health care. They died of disease. There was practically no dental care. If they treated them worse than the cattle. They want to take care of the cattle because they want to butcher it and make money off of it. But these kids, no, they treated them worse, especially on the black side. I mean, it was one big school, but like I said, for the longest it was segregated. So especially on the black side, they got it worse than the white side, and the whites got it worse. So if the whites got it really bad, you can only imagine at that time those poor African Americans. They were just completely brutalized. There's torture, beatings, rape, and death. Yes, there are many stories about death at this school. I mean, obviously, 100 plus years of dealing in this type of business, that there's death, and not just one or two, but a multitude of different deaths and different scenarios behind those deaths. And just always underreported. So many boys mysteriously died, or they just went missing. They just went missing while under the care. Just like, oh, he's not here. Oh, he ran away. Oh, they must have ran away and went to another city and changed their name and created a new life. Okay, yeah, let's be serious. These are not even, a lot of them are not even young men. They can't even escape you, but you think they did all that? No. And the deaths were constantly underreported. So, I mean, you don't really know exactly. I mean, there's a lot of speculation. I know that within recent years, they've done a lot of excavation and they found unmarked graves. But in such a large property, there's probably unmarked graves everywhere. I mean, in Florida, it doesn't even have to necessarily be on the property. So yeah, we could just talk about all of those different things on and on and on. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on. The atrocities that were inflicted upon these children. Children. Yeah. And the reason I'm making sure to stay away from names is because a lot of the people haven't been convicted of a crime. It's been a lot of years, and even though the school recently closed down, yeah, just in 2011, a lot of them have passed away and things like that, so they haven't been convicted. I know that a lot of the survivors are doing different things. They're trying to get monetary retribution. I think they're even trying to get some people criminally charged, but I don't believe any of that has happened just as of yet. So there's a lot of different things that are in the works with that. So even if they did get money from this, I mean, what does that mean? Is is that closure? Like, you're caught smoking a cigarette, you're constantly beaten, you walk into this school, a young man with, I don't know, I wouldn't even go as far as to saying a chip on your shoulder, just a young man with a different idea about life, or maybe even no idea about life. Because, like I said, there are young men that were like, I don't even know why I was there, and you come out a destroyed human being. Because obviously, after all of this abuse, so many of the boys that were at that school, so many of those that actually got to walk out the front door, they had very troubled lives, criminal lives. Some of them were able to sort of straighten up and go to the army and things of that nature, but a lot of broken, broken adults. So yeah, maybe one day the state of Florida will give them something for allowing this to happen to them. But I mean, does that even fix it? So the school finally closed in 2011, and they've done excavations there, and they're trying to just find a lot of the bodies of the missing and obviously presumed dead former students, and they just kind of want to give closure to the families, to see how many they can actually find and possibly identify. And I like that idea because I think about a school that's been open for over 100 years, and I feel that there's so many families that died. The whole family probably died out and never knew what happened to their loved one. They're told he just disappeared. And then, they're thinking, well, maybe he did run away. Maybe he met, this fate or that fate. No, it was probably the school. It's just a terrible. So, you do want to know what happened to your child. You do want to know what happened to your child, no matter what the crime that they were in there for. And like I said, a lot of those are not even crimes. A lot of those are just boys being silly boys, making bad decisions like smoking or skipping school or, things of that nature. So, I mean, I hope that they get their monetary judgment. And I'm not 100% sure where they are in the process with that. I know that I've looked it up and I see that it's moving along. And I think it was, let's see, did I write down exactly when that was? I think it was 2021 that they were moving, October of 2021, that they're still moving forward with trying to get them some sort of judgment for the abuse that they endured. But I pray that they get that, and I pray they find resolution, and I pray that they're gonna have a little bit of money, and that money does help. It helps, fight that PTSD that these men have. Hopefully they can have therapy and they can close their eyes and actually be able to close their eyes and feel, I I don't want to say feel safe and feel secure, but feel at ease. Someone has wronged them, those that are still here with us. Because, as the years go on, these men are getting older and older. So I hope that they do have something that can ease some of that pain or help them get the help that they need to ease that pain, because they didn't deserve that. No child deserves that. And no amount of money can heal you or fix you from such an experience. And there's so many of them. So I mean, there's no amount of money that you can give that is going to be equally distributed amongst them, that's going to be able to fully help. And then there's nothing that can erase those nightmares. Absolutely nothing. So I hope that they do have the capability of finding that common ground piece, or working towards that common ground piece. I really, really hope they do. And for the hundreds and probably thousands of boys, because remember, this school was open for 100 years, over 100 years. My soul breaks for them. My soul breaks for you boys, and you did nothing to deserve that. Absolutely nothing to deserve that horrendous, vile treatment that you received. And like I said earlier, there are probably, when you think about something being open for 100+ years, there are probably whole entire families that passed away not knowing ever what happened. Being told maybe one thing: hey, your kid ran away, or we don't know what happened to your kid. They're a bad kid to begin with. And they probably were even lied to even more. Since your kid was here, your kid was always bad. And so the whole family, I'm sure there are many of them that the whole family passed away and never had closure, or never even had a clue of what their child endured. So at the end of this, because I'm wrapping it up now, I just want to, just verbally just say into the universe, to those young men. I mean, they're not here with us, and I don't believe in, the spirits of people being around, but they did nothing wrong. You sweet babies, you did nothing wrong. And even for those of you that probably did have a higher caliber crime, you should not have been treated the way you were. You just shouldn't. I mean, that's not the way. How are you going to reform someone and put them back out there into society after you've created a beast? So yes, you probably got, for those that have done things a little bit worse than smoking or skipping school, you've created the devil, and then you've stuck them back out there. These children, you did nothing wrong. And I just want to take a moment of silence and remember the young men. And they're actually not even young men. They're children. The children, the babies. Some of them were babies. I mean, 6 years old, 8 years old. I mean, that's the age where, most kids are still afraid of the dark, wanting to have that love and comfort from someone older. And these were children of God that were brutalized and destroyed to this day. Some of these men are destroyed. And I just want to take a moment and remember those that are here that are still fighting, and those that lost the fight even before they knew how to live. So I just want to take a moment right now. And it just really makes me want to cry. You think about children. Yeah. Especially, I think about that 6-year-old you're given away, like a workhorse or something, given to be someone's houseboy, and then this person brings him back limp and unconscious, which to me probably tells me he's beat the crap out of that kid. The kid dies. Six. Six. Even if you need someone to help in the house, or even if you want to kind of, have help, you're going to send a 6-year-old? I mean, what on earth can a 6-year-old do? Sometimes even preteens or teenagers can't help around the house. So yeah, that's so sad. Well, anyways, this is my first podcast, and if you've listened all the way through, thank you so much. And subscribe, and I will do more podcast. And I thought that was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it because I have the biggest passion for true crime and all things horror. And a little bit about myself, if you didn't see that video where I sort of introduced myself, I'm a mom, I'm an animal lover, and I'm an eccentric, if you can't tell. I constantly want to be out of the box. I love being out of the box. I was introduced to true crime from my grandmother, Miriam Lightborn, and she loved watching court cases and America's Most Wanted and things of that nature. And I just sort of followed suit and continued watching those type programs. The horror part, I picked up on my own. I just love all things horror and spooky, and it's just really fun. So I really want to focus this channel, my channel, on the things that I love. I also have a passion for mental health. So I just want to make short motivational videos, longer crime podcast, longer horror podcast where we kind of dabble into, some of the spookier stuff. I am a Christian, like I said, so I believe all things through God, definitely. And that's about it. And I know my name, She Raven, that's a play on Edgar Allan Poe and the Raven. Yeah, just love it all. So hopefully you'll subscribe to my channel and you'll be able to see when I upload new things, and hopefully you'll like it, and hopefully you'll tell others about it, and hopefully I'll get better. Hopefully I'll get better to the point where I won't really need a script. I mean, I think I'll need a script no matter what, but I think over time it just really, it'll get better. I know it will. So thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you liked it.